I am the coordinator of the College of Marin Umoja program. Umoja is a Swahili word, key Swahili word for unity. When we greet in the Umoja community, we say swabona, which means I see you, which is a Zulu word. It is my honor today to bring you to the Umoja Porch Talk. The Porch Talk has a long tradition in African American history. It's a space of communication and sharing. It's a safe space dialogue. If you look at the work of Alice Walker or Dora Neale Hurston or Toni Morrison, you see this notion about the Porch Talk. Umoja is a California statewide program to enhance the graduation, retention, and transfer of African American students. It now includes more than 60 campuses. The College of Marin Umoja team is an amazing group. Let me repeat that, an amazing group of students, faculty, and supporters, and I'm honored to be the coordinator of College of Marin Umoja. You'll hear more about the projects of College of Marin Umoja and many other campus projects as we go through the program today. One note I do want to share with you is that our Umoja team is especially proud of the increased graduation rates of African American students from College of Marin, the retention, the persistence. We're just hearing this week in our last meeting, our regular meeting, that we have 3 Umoja students who have been admitted to the UC system. So we're making progress. I'm very, very much looking forward to today's program. I can't wait to hear and learn and think and dialogue. And at this time, I want to move the program forward. I want to introduce Professor Renetta Early. Professor Early is with the counseling department. She serves on the staff of EOPS and CalWORKS. She is part of the College of Marin Umoja team and a co-coordinator of Women to Women. She has the distinct honor of being a founder of the College of Marin Umoja community. Please welcome Professor Renetta Early.
Renetta, can you unmute yourself, please?
Okay, hello everyone. Sorry about that. Before we begin our program, we have a few guests here today from the college administration that I would like to briefly introduce and thank them for their constant support, which helps to keep the Umoja program so successful. They are tremendously supportive of our students and they help make today possible. Dr. David Wayne Kuhn, President of College of Marin and his administrative team. Carrie Torres, Assistant Vice President of Instruction. Jonathan Eldridge, Assistant Superintendent and Vice President of Student Learning and Success. Tanya Hurst, Dean of Educational Success Program. John Hornick, Dean of Enrollment Management and Enrollment Services, and Greg Nelson, Assistant Superintendent and Vice President of Administrative Service. So we're thanking each of them. Don't know if they're there, but here's a round of applause. Okay, so before I introduce our next speaker, here are some Zoom housekeeping details. This event is going to be recorded, so everything you type into the chat room will be a part of that transcript. If you have questions for our guest speaker, Miss Idara Phillips, please type them in the chat box, and periodically throughout her presentation, she will be calling for questions. All right, our next speaker, Malaika Smith, is a Umoja student assistant, a member of the Women to Women group, and also an EOPS student. We must congratulate Malaika for graduating this semester with her degree in communication studies and she will be attending a UC campus of her choice. So that's a great honor in and of itself. We wish you much success, Malaika, in all your future endeavors, and your presence will surely be missed. Forwards ever, backwards never. Malaika?
Hello, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. So yes, I am also an Umoja student as well as a Umoja student assistant and EOPS student. So sorry. And being in each of these programs, I've been able to participate in Woman to Woman, Umoja conferences, and it has also given me the encouragement to go outside of the learning communities, which I have become part of our student government on campus, and it's just been a great time. But I'm gonna just talk about some of the 3 learning communities that we have at College of Marin. The first being Puente, which is a learning community that focuses primarily on the Latino culture through English and counseling classes and special events. The second is MAPS, which is a learning community that focuses on supporting students to better understand their academic career options through a variety of humanity courses and counseling courses along with peer mentoring. And lastly, we have the Umoja Learning Community, the primary sponsors of today's event, and is a community of learners committed to academic success, personal growth, and self-actualization of African American and other students. All students are welcome to apply. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. And so I would like to introduce Bonnie, who is the faculty in the communications department, and she's also an amazing person. So, Bonnie.
Bonnie, can unmute you.
Yes, thank you, Malaika, sorry. And congratulations on your graduation and your success here. I just want to say just a couple of words about Woman to Woman, which is one of the co-sponsors of our event today. Woman to Woman is a group that is sponsored by Umoja. You have to be a member of Umoja to join. At the moment, you have to be a woman. We haven't opened it up to any men yet. We have been meeting twice a month. Probably in the fall, we will do more Zoom. I don't think we'll be able to meet in person, which is unfortunate because one of the things that we do is eat really well when we meet. But Woman to Woman is an opportunity for the women of Umoja to come together, to discuss issues that affect their lives, and to create deep community ties. We also invite guest speakers, and I'm sure you will enjoy our guest speaker today. I think we might be inviting her back. At the end of this webinar, there will be more information on how you can sign up for Umoja and how you can use other resources at the college. So I will now turn this over to Becky Reitz, who is the director of EOPS, CARES, and CalWORKS, who are also co-sponsoring this event today. Becky?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. We're really happy to be co-sponsoring this event with Umoja and Women to Women. And I want to tell you a little bit about the EOPS CARE and CalWORKS programs. EOPS is the original equity program in California community colleges, and we're celebrating 50 years this year. So it's a big celebration for us. We had a really nice event this fall to celebrate that. I hope some of you were actually able to be there. The mission of our program is to provide over and above services for low-income, first-generation, and underrepresented minorities through services such as book grants, school supplies, specialized counseling, priority registration, special scholarships, and much more. The CARE program provides additional support to our single-parent students, you guys out there, whose children are receiving cash aid from the county, and we purchase all their books, school supplies, we provide grants, counseling, food, transportation support. And finally, our CalWORKS program provides student support for students who are currently receiving cash aid from the county for themselves as well. And for them, we provide additional transportation support, school supplies, and counseling. We are committed to supporting all of our students, but we are particularly sensitive to the needs of our single parents. We understand that you face a very different challenge to be successful students. And so invitations to participate in our programs are sent out prior to the start of each semester. And if you know anyone who may be eligible, please send them our way. We're always looking to support additional students. So I want to welcome you all today. Thank you for coming to this event. And now I'm going to hand it back to Renetta. Hey,
Renetta,
Renetta.
you're muted, please.
Yeah, you're.
No worries.
First time on Zoom, everybody. All right, I now have the special privilege of introducing our guest speaker for today, Missy Dora Phillips. All right. Idara Phillips is an accomplished and recognized accountant and community activist. She is the owner and director of Zip Business Service and accounting and bookkeeping firm in Elk Grove. She earned her bachelor's degree in business administration from the National Hispanic University of San Jose, after which she went on to earn her Master's of Science in Accounting from St. Mary's College in Moraga, California. While this is unmistakably very impressive,
Renetta, I think you muted yourself by accident.
okay. So you remember where I left off?
Unmistakably.
Oh, okay. While this is unmistakably very impressive, especially for an African-American woman, I haven't yet mentioned the credentials that makes her so well qualified for this particular webinar. First and foremost, Ms. Phillips is a mother of 5, and she earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees as a single parent of 2. She was not born with a silver spoon in her mouth. In fact, Ms. Phillips is the first to tell you that she comes from humble beginnings. She was raised on the barrio East Side San Jose, where she learned how to scrape and hustle to survive. She lost her mother, her rock, the person who supported and guided her through life at the age of 16. This is actually when she became a single parent because she had to raise her younger brother while trying to figure out how to raise herself. Determined to obtain her degree, Idara learned to navigate the educational system through trial and error. She will be the first to admit she made quite a few errors, but in the end, she did it. Ms. Phillips has every right to be proud of her accomplishments. It took long hours and hard work to earn her degrees and to start her business. But her credentials, the real reason she is here to speak with us today, boils down to one thing. The one thing that many of you, if not all of you, have in common with Ms. Phillips is true grit. You will not find a sheepskin hanging on her wall to prove it, but Ms. Phillips has the equivalent of a bachelor's in courage, a master's in innovation, and a PhD in perseverance. When the affirmative action program was canceled in the middle of her college career, she picked up not 1, but 2 jobs and kept going. When attempting to obtain her transcripts, 1 year from graduation from Santa Clara University, she was informed that she had defaulted on one of her many student loans after the birth of her daughter, and would not be able to obtain her transcripts until the $20,000 debt was paid in full. Supporting herself and child on welfare and food stamps, this was not possible. Rather than giving up, she collected herself and decided to restart her education again as a freshman at the local community college. It took her longer than most to earn the bachelor's degree, but she earned it and went on to earn her master's, then went on to open up her own business. She did all of this as a single parent. That is impressive. That is what makes a winner, and that is what makes Idara Phillips qualified to speak with us today. Idara, there's nothing left to say except we welcome you and we are ready to listen. Everyone, Miss Idara Phillips.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for that introduction. I'm really excited to speak with you all today. I have thought about this for the longest time, just going back to the community college community and speaking to students, especially single parents who are going through the same things I went through, and being able to give them some advice, being able to give them some inspiration and some hope that you can really make it. And with all the tools that you have available in the community colleges, the goals of not only getting your degree, but also building that future for your children, it's highly attainable. Before I start speaking, I do want to let you know that I still am a mom. And so if you saw my screen go off, I want to apologize. My youngest is 5. And the oldest is 18. And if they run through here, they were trying to get him out of the house. So they're out of the house, but he was not cooperating. I understand exactly what parents are going through. I began my whole college education straight out of high school. And that was during the late 1990s. And I went to Santa Clara University straight out of high school. I actually did come from a rough beginning, as Renetta had said, Miss Early had said, but I was privileged enough that my parents had put me into private school. So I understood the value of an education, even though I didn't come from the same background as most of the students that went to my school. Most of my friends, I always laughed and said, when most of my friends received Lexuses and BMWs for their 16th birthday, I got a bus pass. So I had that foundation. And from there, I went straight to college. And my mom had passed away at the end of my junior year. Things were hard. I was raising my brother. I didn't know what I was doing. I think by the time I started college, I had 2 part-time jobs. But things got really hard when they started cutting programs, and the programs that I was actually depending on to finish school. So my junior year, my dad told me that he didn't have the money anymore because they had cut a program, that he wouldn't be able to afford to send me to school anymore. So I started a job, and I got a job as a receptionist. Within a month or 2 of getting that job, I was promoted up, and my income increased by 5 times. So I went from making like $4 an hour, which is what we made back then as minimum wage, to making over $20 an hour. So I was like, this is awesome. And I kind of put my education on the back burner because I was making good money. Everyone else was making $4 an hour. That was my age. And I just kept working. I got a job working as an accountant. And I worked until the .com crash happened. When the .com crash happened, everyone was running everyone in the Bay Area was losing their jobs. So I'm from San Jose originally, which is like the heart of Silicon Valley. So you've heard of the recession that happened like in 2008. For us in the Silicon Valley, that recession hit earlier. It hit, in the early 2000s with the .com crash. We lost all of our work. And all of a sudden, the fact that I hadn't finished my degree became an issue. At that point, the fact that I didn't have my bachelor's, even though I was working as an accountant, which should have required me to have a bachelor's, became an issue. And I found myself losing my job to someone who had a degree, less skills, but had a degree. So as a result, I moved out to Arizona to go work for another newspaper. I was working at a newspaper. And at that newspaper, that's where I met my daughter's father. And I told everyone I was gonna finish my last year of college in Arizona. Instead, I came back about a year later and everyone was like, gosh, that was fast. You finished your last year? I was like, no, I came back because I'm pregnant. And so my life changed. My life changed. I was on this path to become like this huge, successful businesswoman, climbing up the corporate ladder. And then I ended up having to move back home, finding myself being a single mom, having split with my daughter's dad, like when I was about 6 months pregnant, moving back home with my dad and having a baby. And not only did I have a baby, I didn't have any idea of how to take care of a kid. My mom had passed away when I was in high school. Most of my family, I don't have a really big family, and none of my family was really close to me. And I was a tomboy growing up. So I actually didn't even know how to change a diaper when I had my daughter. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about. Having kids, it's not anything that anyone ever tells you about. You don't know how to do it. So right now, all of you students, you're not only trying to navigate the educational system for yourself, but you're also trying to navigate your children's lives. And I've always said in my life, I'm balancing my life and my kids' lives. And I want to share with you guys some slides that I put together because I want to talk to you about that balancing act that you do when you're a single parent and you're in school. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about how that's even, it's even amplified right now due to the COVID-19 and we're having to be at home with our kids. But at the same time, how it's also a blessing that we're at home with our kids right now. So I'd like to start my talk with you. And it's my Umoja Porch Talk, single parenting, the struggles real. Okay, so for me, the struggle of having two kids has always been really, really real. You see, my oldest and my youngest are 10 years apart. And as it was also announced that I have 5 kids, I now have 3 additional kids in my family. But when I went through school, I went through school with these 2. My oldest, she was a year old when I returned back to school. And I returned because I was on welfare. So when I came back to California pregnant with her, I was told that I couldn't sign up to go back to my regular health insurance I had had, which was Kaiser. My pregnancy was considered a pre-existing condition. So I didn't know what to do. I had to get healthcare. I was pregnant. I knew I was gonna have a baby soon and I would need to go to the hospital. And so one was like, well, you're gonna have to go and apply for Medi-Cal. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to do that. They were like, come on, I'll take you. So we went down there and she's like, you know, you might as well apply for food stamps and welfare while you're at it. And that was like a huge blow to my self-esteem because I had come from this private school world of going to my private high school and my private college. And then I was like, I have to apply for welfare. And then she was like, yeah, you have a kid. You have to do what you have to do. Suck it up, apply for the programs, take care of your kid. And I guess that was like my real introduction to the sacrifices that we make as parents. So I had my daughter, and parenting does not come with instructions. When I had her, they handed her to me, and after a couple hours, a nurse came in and said, oh, your daughter needs her diaper changed. And I was like, okay, thank you. I know how to be really polite. She walked out, and I just looked at her, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I had never changed a diaper before in my life. So one of my friends actually came to visit me, and she's like, hey, how's it going? I was like, great, the baby needs a diaper change. And she's like, so change your diaper. I was like, I don't even know the difference in the front and the back of a diaper. I have no idea how to do this. And so we kind of learned about this parenting thing together. She's my partner in crime. This is my Zariah. And we've gone through ups and downs together, but I could say that we've done it together. And that's one of the actual amazing things about being a single parent. I have a lot of my friends are single parents. And I think it has a lot to do with the background that I come from. And a lot of my friends are not single parents. And I actually think that being a single parent, you get this amazing bond with your kids that sometimes you don't have when there's another parent in the household, because you kind of depend on them and they depend on you. You guys have to work in unison to get things done. And that's what we did. She's really my backbone. She's the reason I was able to do things. All the things that I've done. The reason I went back to school, I went back because they told me that my welfare program was gonna make me go back to school, make me go back to work after a year. But she was a breastfed baby and she did not do bottles at all. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna go back to work. So one of my friends was like, if you go to school, you can use that to your advantage. You have to go back to work or school. And I said, okay. So I signed up for school. And then I actually did an opportunity to start working. I got 2 opportunities. So I actually signed up for school and I got 2 jobs at the same time when she was turning a year old. But I went back to school because I was trying to figure out how I could stay home and still take care of her. And then once I told them I'm going to school, they were saying, you need to go back, you need to go look for work. You had a year. I was like, I'm in school. They were like, okay, well, there's all these programs. You're now going to be in the CalWORKS program. And I was like, okay. And they were like, oh, well, since you're in the CalWORKS program, we're going to give you a little bit of extra. They were like, do you need a bus pass? No, I don't need a bus pass. I have a car. Oh, well, then you get extra gas. I was like, cool. I think it was $75 back then, but $75 is a lot when you're not getting a lot. And I was like, awesome. I'll go to school for an extra $75. And so I took my first class. I think it was a parenting class because I had this kid. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had been I was majoring to actually be a teacher in the beginning. So I was like, I'll take a parenting class. And I took some parenting classes. Those were the first classes I took. And whenever I talk to people nowadays, I'm always trying to encourage people to go to school. That's something that almost anyone who knows me will tell you is I'm always telling people to go to school. Even if it's only just 1 class at a time, go to school. So for everyone who's in school right now, everyone listening, I'm so proud of you because you're in school. That's the number 1 thing. If you have to take 1 class at a time, take 1 class at a time, 2 classes at a time, 2 classes at a time. I started off taking 2 classes at a time. And then I realized that my financial aid would be better if I went full-time. So I started figuring out how to go to school full-time. But I had 2 jobs. I had a 1-year-old child and I needed to get in 3 classes to be full-time. So I would usually take 2 online classes, 1 on-campus class. I learned, and I think it was actually in one of my classes, and we were talking about learning types. And we were like, what kind of learner are you? And it was at that time that I realized that I was an audio-visual learner. So I realized that I had to visually see something to be able to really comprehend what was being said. And I also had to hear it. I had to hear the teacher saying it in order to really comprehend it 100%. It was either comprehension or attention. So I realized once learning that I had to take face-to-face classes, the classes that were harder for me, and the subjects that were easier for me, I could take those online. So I took all of my accounting classes on campus, and I would take my English classes online. But I knew history, I knew this from high school, that history was not a class that I was really good at. So I took my history class face-to-face because I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to study and do that history assignment by myself. I did this and I kind of managed my time, and it allowed me to work and go to school. I found a really good opportunity in my job that I took part-time jobs. That was how I was able to work and go to school. I actually got a job at Kaiser in 2005, and I got a job working in their call center. The awesome thing about that job was at 20 hours, I was able to get full benefits for myself and my daughter. So as long as I worked like 2 or 3 days a week, I was able to keep full benefits for us. And because Kaiser's open 24 hours a day, there were shifts that I could work. So I could go in, I think for a long time, I worked Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I had Monday, Wednesday classes. Another thing I was able to do was I worked through, I used my daycare program. So through CalWORKS, I was also offered my daycare program. My daycare program allowed me to put my daughter in school and manipulate that in a way that I was able to put her in really good schools and schools that would allow me to maybe put her half a day in a school near my job and then half a day in school near the school. So I was still able to get what I needed to get done while making sure her needs were taken care of. And I did all of this because I had a goal in mind. My goal had always been to obtain my degree. I grew up in a household where getting my college degree wasn't like a question, just kind of like how I say going to, for my kids finishing kindergarten isn't a question. I knew I needed to get my degree, but now as a single parent, I didn't know how to do it. And then my mom was the one who guided me. So I didn't have my mom and I had a kid and I really had to figure this out. So I really had to set my goal. And I think this is one of the most important things. If there was one thing that I could stress with the students today, it's set goals. Set goals for yourself. Set goals for your kids. These pictures, the first one on the left, that's me when I finished my master's. So I finished my master's in 2017. That was my goal. My goal was to finish my master's before my daughter had to go to high school. Because I knew that I wanted her to go to the same high school I wanted to go to, and it was a private school. So I knew that I had to be able to make a certain amount of money in order for her to be able to afford to pay for her tuition. So that was like my driving force through grad school, was to be able to pay for her education. This is my daughter right here. This was taken a couple months ago. She's 15, and these are her college acceptance letters. So my goal for her has always been to go to college. And I've been telling her since she was about 4 or 5 years old that you're gonna go to college. And when you go to college, I need you to go through in order to go to college, I need you to have a certain GPA. So I think it's when you're setting goals for yourself or you're setting goals for your kids, because you need to set goals not only for yourself, but also for your children, that you need to set attainable goals, goals where they can actually reach those goals. You know, when your kids are little, I'm not sure how old your kids are, but when they're little in class, in kindergarten, in preschool, they put up these charts on the walls and they give them stickers and they give them colors. And, you know, if you're good, you go on yellow. And if you're really good, you go to green. And if you're super good, you go to red. And if you're not doing so good, you go to orange. And if you're really not doing good, you go to, you know, blue or something. So they have goals that they could see. And the kids are like, I want to be on this color. And that's what, you know, one of the tools the teachers use to keep the students following all the rules. Well, if you set those same goals for your children will have clear understandings of what they need to do to achieve the things that you want them to achieve. So I told my daughter, I want you to get a 3.5. I want you to get a 3.5. And I told her, you know what, if you get a 3.5, I'll get you a car when you're 16. So I made her a lot of promises, and I started making these promises when she was really little. I'm on welfare, food stamps, living with my daughter at my dad's house. We're all sharing one room, but I'm making these promises to her. And so that I had to do my part to be able to get them, right? Because she started excelling in school, which is awesome. now she's 15. She's getting ready to go to college a couple years early. She's turning 16 in 2 weeks. I have to go pick her car up from San Jose. But I made these goals and she's been able to reach them. Now, I don't chastise her if she doesn't reach them, which I think is really important. When you have children, you need to not chastise them when they don't reach their goals, but talk to them about what you can do to help reach them. And that builds this communication between you that will help you all through their education and your education, because you guys are gonna have to work together. You're gonna have to work together to be able to get through school. You're gonna have to work together to be able to reach your goals. See, the other part is like with the 3 of them, when I started my master's program, I found out I was pregnant with my son right after I graduated with my bachelor's. And I was getting ready to go into my master's program. And I think it was like 2 weeks after I graduated. I wasn't feeling good, went to the doctors, they were like, you're pregnant. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to start my master's program in a couple of months. So I had to call them, postpone it. I postponed it for a year. And then I told my daughter, hey, she was 10, you can see she's little. And I was like, I know I told you that life was gonna get better after I'm done with college, but mommy's gonna go to college because she really needs to get through master's program now because I have you and your little brother to take care of. And we still want you to go to the good school. We still want you to have all these things, but we're gonna really have to work together. So I'm gonna need your help. And we worked together. I mean, I would talk to her and we would make plans together. Every single time I planned something for my education, I involved her in it. Not like I was asking for permission, but we worked together on it. I had to go to school on Saturdays. And in order for me to go to school on Saturdays, I had to leave her on Saturdays. So I talked to her about it. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna go to school and it's gonna be all day Saturday. And on Tuesday and Thursdays when I have classes, I'm gonna need you to help with your brother. Can you do that? And she was like, yeah, mom. And I was like, okay, but on the Saturdays I don't have school. I promise you we'll do something fun. So I really tried to make it so she was helping me, I was helping her. We had a goal, a similar goal in mind, and then I rewarded her for everything that she did. So it's very important that you involve your children, even from a really young age, in what you're doing and set your goals, even if they're little. When she was little, at 1 year old, I used to sit down in my room, right? Because I didn't have very much. I had like a bed. I would sit down on the bed and I had homework to do. So when I would have homework to do, or when you have homework to do, this is a really good tip for everyone. Give your kids something to do. Talk to your kids about the fact, mom or dad has homework. I'm gonna work on my homework, you work on your homework. If they're not old enough to have homework, get a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, some crayons, and here you go. I utilized the dollar store. That was my best friend. I know as a student, you don't have a lot of money. The dollar store is my best friend until I was actually able to get a printer, and then I found free printables online. You can go to lots of websites and I would type in printables, whatever grade, and print them out. So when I was doing my homework, she was doing her homework of coloring. And I told her this was so mommy can finish school. Mommy needs to finish school. You need to be smart and you need to go to college. So we're gonna do homework together. And all through school, that's what we did. When she was young, it was coloring. When she got older, I would actually, sometimes even take her to my classes. If I had a really cool professor, I would let them know, hey, my daughter, I want her to go to college. Is there a way that maybe I can bring her on campus, or, I just want her to see what a college class is like, because that was one of my goals for her. And it also helped her understand why it was so important for mom to get her homework done, why it was so important that mom would need quiet time when she was watching her classes, my Zoom calls. I know Zoom because I was a student. I learned Zoom in college. She understood because I involved her in that, but it was this common goal that we had, that we were working towards, that allowed me to keep going. And it also allowed me to overcome the obstacles I had. When I was going through school, I mean, it took me 17 years to finish my degrees, okay? I almost went to school, I think I went to school 14 years of those 17 years. I stopped, you know, to have kids, but I was taking a couple classes at a time. Sometimes my requirements would change, and I had a lot of things happen. For example, I was getting ready to transfer out of my junior college, and I had a PE class. I had one more PE requirement I needed to do. So I had played soccer most of my life. I played soccer for 9 years, and I was trying to go back. And my friends kept telling me, we can't do that anymore. We're not teenagers. And I was like, we could do it. We did this forever. So I took a weightlifting class, which had a lot of running. And then the next class I was going to take was soccer, because I was trying to get back into something I liked. Because I always tried to do something I liked in school. Like, I was in school, but I wanted to do something I liked. It made it easier for me to do. So I was going to take soccer. I was in shape. I went out to the soccer field, did everything fine. The last 5 minutes of practice, the ball came by, I turned, something went snap, hit me in the back of and I felt like something hit me in the back of my leg. I was like, ow. I turned around, realized no one was there. I think that was my leg that snapped, and I tore my Achilles tendon. So I ended up in a wheelchair for 6 months. Not only was I not able to take, this is the first day of PE. So not only am I not able to finish my PE requirements, but I'm not able to take any of my other classes on campus. Put me back, right? 6 months. As a result of that, I ended up getting another surgery a year later when I was actually transferring to San Jose State. The surgery went bad, and I ended up in the ICU eating out of tubes for 4 months. I missed my orientation. So as a result, they told me I couldn't go if I didn't go to my orientation. And I said, okay, can I postpone and go in the next quarter, which would have been winter quarter or winter semester? And they said, what is it? No, not winter quarter, spring semester. And they said, no, it's impacted. So there's like a year to 2 year wait to get into your program. So I said, okay. And when I got out of the hospital, I said, well, I'm not gonna wait 2 years to go to school. And I don't really like the fact that they didn't cooperate. So I'm gonna see if I can find another school to go to. And that's why I ended up going to the National Hispanic University. I was able to jump back into going to school, even though I was walking around with a backpack on and 18 hours a day being fed through IVs going to my heart, because I had a goal. I had a goal of finishing my degree. So like every single thing that happened, I always came back to my degree. And as parents, I think it's very, very easy to get distracted because we have so many things going on in our lives that normal students may or may not have, right? You have your family dynamic. You have, you know, your relationships that you're going through, your own personal relationships with your friends, with your the people you're dating. You're trying to have a social life. You might be working, right? And these are things that every student would have. And then you have your children, your children's lives. Your children might be having a bad day. Your children's relationships, your kids might be getting bullied. Your kids might have special needs. And then you have their education. So it's easy to find one thing that can throw you off and you're just gonna get frustrated and be like, that's it. And trust me, when I say I made some mistakes, I made some mistakes. I stopped going to school before. And then I had to say, you know what are you doing? You're not gonna get it, go back to school. That goal always kept me coming back. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I came back. When they told me I couldn't go to school because I missed orientation, I came back. When I hurt my leg in my PE class and I was in a wheelchair, I came back. Even when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I actually hurt myself. Well, I was hurt in a domestic violence situation, and I ended up breaking my hand. And so I had to finish my last semester of my undergrad in a cast. And I wasn't that bad until I realized I couldn't type with just one hand. And I didn't stop. Instead, I was like, you know what, I really need to get myself out of this situation. And I doubled up my classes. And I took 5 courses because they were saying I was 5 courses away from graduation. And when that happened, I actually talked to the school and was like, can I double up my classes? Because I need to get a good job. I need to get out of my situation. So I kept going. Like, it was my motivation. And I always knew that my goal of going to school and my goal of being able to reach the goals that I had told, the things I said I was going to do for my daughter, they kept me focused. That's the first thing I want to talk to you guys about. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is seeking out resources. You have lots of resources, and resources are one of the things that's going to get you through this. You have your school resources. Everyone who's on this call today, they are a resource. They're here because they support you. They believe in you. And that's awesome. The fact that the school is putting on this event today shows that there is support out there. So once again, I want to bring out that your school has resources. Your school website, and I'm hoping this link works. Give me a moment. Hopefully this works, you guys. Your school website has a list of resources. And this list of resources, it's here. I'm going to pull it up for you. Give me one moment. And I'm sorry about this. I'm going to share a different screen. I want to show you your school resource page. This is your school resource page. This is your support services for students page. This is the main reason I wanted to talk to you guys. Use your resources. I would not have made it through without the resources. I used CalWORKS, and then once someone told me, hey, if you go to EOPS, they'll help you with your books. And I was like, cool. I found the Umoja program one day, and then I realized that, hey, not only is this a community, that community helps you feel better about going to school. Sometimes that community is there for you when you're having a bad day, or you're stressed out, or you just want to laugh and joke around. You have counselors that are more, you have something in common with, that you can relate with. Try to find a community that you can relate to. But not only do those programs like Umoja have that community, they also had a set of teachers that they had designated for Umoja students. So I was in the Umoja program at my school down in San Jose. And those programs were really helpful, because I remember taking an English class. English was not my subject. I'm an accountant. And at least in that class, the teacher joked around. The teacher was like, it was a different atmosphere than a normal class. So I encourage you guys, look out for these programs, seek out these programs in your schools, because the Umoja program, which is predominantly African-American, they had African-American teachers, and we would like laugh and joke a little bit more. Maybe some of the books we read were different. And it was an easier way for me to get through that class. I know that other programs have other support centers as well, or they have, like, I remember the program for the Asian Pacific Islanders. They had a math, like they had their own math teacher, and they had their own science teacher. And so it's really good if you guys can get into a group that will make you feel comfortable, and that is also, you really know that they're there to support you, because when you're a parent, you really need that, extra support. So right here, there's counseling, there's food resources. Food resources right now with COVID-19, everyone try to stay in the house. Even myself, with my kids, I'm using food resources because it allows me to not have to go to the grocery store. So the local schools here where I live, they do free lunch every day for the kids from 11 to 1. And so I take my kids every day between 11 and 1, and we go and we pick up lunches. The first couple of weeks of COVID-19, I was going through so much milk. I couldn't find bread, I couldn't find fruit. I was like, this is crazy. So I started getting the lunches, and I know now at least I have milk for my kids. I have fruit for my kids, and that it allows me not to go to the grocery store. And since money's really, really tight right now, I could save some of that money, because I mean, in my business has died down. So I know money's tight for everybody. Utilize your resources. There's a lot of resources on here. There's just a list. There's tutoring, there's online, there's writing, but also utilize resources. If you're part of CalWORKS and you don't use CalFresh, apply for CalFresh. I loved it when I had food stamps. If I had $4 in food stamps, that was $400, that was $400 less that I had to spend on food stamps, and that was $400 that I could spend on something else. And that brings me back to the next thing I was going to talk about in resources, which were activities. See, by saving $400 in food, I was able to spend more money on activities. Activities for my kids. And I will share with you guys a couple of the activities that we did, and then I'm gonna actually take a break so we can talk a little bit, because this is supposed to be a Porch Talk, not just to listen to Idara talk. But I wanna share with you some of the activities. Now there's activities like the community centers, and there's activities like after school sports, right? We all know about those. These are things that I've always utilized, especially when my money was really tight. One of the things I want to say about these two is that you can ask for scholarships. You can ask for scholarships. I didn't realize this until I was much older, but you could put your kid in almost any activity with a scholarship. Activities were the other way that another thing I think of as a resource. And when I say activities, I mean formal activities. And then I mean informal activities. The reason I say that is because sorry, this is not sharing. The reason I say that is because I've been doing activities with my kids since they were little. So this is like the fun stuff we would do when I actually had a free time from work and school. We would cook together. And I know that sometimes you feel overwhelmed with when you're in school and you have kids, that you can't do everything for yourself. Or sometimes, like if you have a paper to write, you feel like you're ignoring your kids. What I've learned to do is make the most of the time that we had together. So in my household, we cook together. And I've been cooking with my daughter since she was little. She was really little. And this was one of our things that we did together. This was our special time. These are the things that we did together. So I encourage people to find special things that you can do. Now, as we get older, the things that she does are school activities. And we really started doing this when her brother was born, because I didn't have as much money. But like I said, if you use those resources, you'll have a little bit of money for your kids. So if you go and get free lunch, and you go and you get the food stamps, and you go and you get the book vouchers, and you reach out to every single resource you could possibly have, you might have some classes, some time or some money left over for a music lesson for your kids. I put my daughter in music because she struggled in math, and they said that music helps kids. You use the same part of your brain to play instruments that you use to do math. So I put my daughter in music. And she started when she was really young. I also put her, she was in a Spanish immersion school. So I wanted her to practice her Spanish. So I took her and put her in a mariachi. And she started when she was about 6. And this is her playing with her school mariachi last year. She also does sports. So the activities you could do, they don't really matter as long as you keep your kids busy. Now, it sounds like it's awesome, right? You keep your kids busy, but it also helps you. Do you know what I did when my daughter was when my kids were in practice? I sat in my car and did my homework. It was an hour of quiet time for me. I had that hour to read a book. I had that hour to type a paper. I had that hour to study for my class that was starting at 6. So I know that I might not have seen everything, but I would maybe talk to another parent and be like, hey, can you record my kid? And my kids knew I was there. I would jump out, watch them do something if she was competing. And then I would run back to the car and continue my homework. And you just play this juggling act when you're a parent. But it works. Your kids are happy. They get their stuff done. You get your stuff done. This picture is a baby lizard. And the reason I entered this one was because I was at the library with my son. And I was in the bookshelf and I found a lizard. And I put this here to remind you that anything you do with your kids, big or small, can be an activity. I found a lizard and I told him, hey, let's catch this lizard. So we're running around the library until we caught this little baby lizard. And it was like awesome. I think that was the best time we ever had. I was writing to write a paper. I took 5 minutes out. I caught a lizard with him. He was super happy. We laughed and joked around about it. And then he sat down and finished coloring and reading his books, and I was working on a paper. And the other resource you have is your support network. These are my kids and my godkids and my great-granddaughter. So her mom is my best friend, and their mom's my best friend, and she had her first kid when she was 14. So and she's a single mom. She's a single mom of 4. And we raised our kids together, and we always had each other's, we've had each other's backs. So all through high school, we were together. We went to college together. And then we both were single moms, and we kind of did everything together. And I know that as a single parent, I had a network of other single parents, and we worked together, and we made sure that we were okay. And I felt like there was a bond there. And so I encourage all the students to reach out to each other. And even here, as soon as this slide right here is over, I want to stop and talk, because my biggest support beyond the resources I've looked out for were other single parents. This is the picture on the top left. This is my goddaughter and her daughter, and my son and my daughter. I was pregnant with my goddaughter, so our kids are only 2 months apart. And I was there to help her trying to figure out how to be a mom, right? And I think here we're picking my daughter up from YMCA camp one day, because I always use camps and things to, like, I'd put her in camp and then I knew I could take class. So we're picking up from YMCA camp, and she was at the house helping with her daughter, helping me watch my little one so I could get a paper done. And the bottom corner, these are her younger brothers and my son and my daughter. And I have them because their mom was doing her master's program, and I had her kids because she had a paper to write. So I had a paper to write, so her daughter came to the house to help watch my kids that day. And then her mom had a paper to write, so then I picked up all her younger brothers, and I just took them to the park, grabbed a 12-pack of tacos from Taco Bell, and we sat in the park so mom could have an hour or two to write the paper. So we really supported each other. And I encourage you guys to build up a support network if you can of other people. And that's where these programs like EOPS or CalWORKS, Umoja, Women to Women, Care, that's where all of your groups that you're a part of can really help you beyond the resources that that group is providing you, but you'll build relationships. And like my best friend and I, we both had that similar goal of we're going to get to college, we're going to finish our degrees, and then we've got our bachelor's, we're like, we're going to get our master's. And so we're like, we're going to do this. And we've always looked out for each other. And, you know, when you're with other students, they have that similar goal. You're in these groups with other students that their goal is to get through school. Their goal is to finish college, right? Either it be junior college or transferring to a four-year college or even going on to get a professional degree. You guys all have that goal. You guys are all in school for a reason. Try to really create bonds, relationships, friendships with other students, because you guys understand the struggle. You guys are all going through it in similar fashions. Your exact situation will be different, but you guys are all going through being parents and trying to balance parenting and school and maybe work. So I worked with my other friends who were single parents, and we used to take turns watching each other's kids. If I had a day where I didn't have so much to do, I would be like, hey, what's going on? And I'd be like, I have a free day. And she's like, really? She's like, I have a paper I was supposed to be turned in last week. I'm like, hey, I'll come pick your kids up for a couple hours. And then on a day where I had something, you know, she would do that for me. And it worked. That's how I was able to get through, especially my master's program. My friends really stepped up for me. I don't have a lot of family, and there's different kind of single parents. There's single parents who co-parent, and then there's single parents who don't have another parent. I was one of the ones who don't have another parent involved at all. So if my kid's dad were to walk into the house right now, they wouldn't know who it was. So I really had to build up a network of people. And I encourage you guys to build up a network outside, and also build up a network with the students that you go to school with, because they're going through the same thing. And you guys can really work together. I used to go and pick up the kids from daycare and drop them off at class. And I go into one class and she's coming out of another class, and we would swap kids and we would figure out our schedules together. It works. You have to be really, really clever, but you can get through it. I'm gonna go and stop and go through some of these questions.
Idara?
Yes.
It's Becky here. One of our students is asking, what do you suggest on how to stay focused, organized with online classes, especially when you're not used to technology?
Remember when I was talking about goals? It's kind of like goals, timelines, plans. I'm the first one to say that I get sidetracked, especially with my kids. So I would have to set a goal of a specific time through the day to study. For example, I found that I was falling behind my assignments and with online classes. So I would wake up early. Before my kids would wake up. And I would give myself, like, I usually wouldn't wake up that early, but I would say, you know, I'm going to get up 5 to say 6:30, because they would get up early, 5 to 6:30. And I'll try to get the studying done, especially things that I find are really hard to stay focused on. I'm going to get it done before they start their day. Because once your day starts as a parent, you can have a lot of interruptions. So you have to take out some time for yourself. People always told me to start a calendar, and I was really bad about putting things in my calendar. But you can use your phone and set alerts and alerts for things that you have to do. And it's not just places you have to go, but sit here and say, stop fooling around and start studying on your paper, and then set an alarm to when you're going to stop studying on your paper, or set an alarm of prep for your online class 20 minutes before your class starts, so that you're not running into class. Set alarms, use alarms on your phones. And even if you have to use an alarm to remind yourself to put in your other alarms for the day. Okay, because sometimes I'm running so much that I forget. So I literally would set an alarm that says, stop what you're doing and put all of your important times, your important dates, your important deadlines, your important papers, your important tests into your phone so that you don't forget about them, so that you can remember that you need a certain amount of time to study, and then communicate that with anyone else who's around. That's what I would say to do to stay focused. If you're not used to technology, because it says to stay organized with online classes, especially when you're not used to technology, I would also say talk to your professors. Talk to your professors, because your professors are, oh, see, that's good. Colleen just put up a link on the calendar feature in Canvas to track your assignment due dates. If you're having problems with the technology, reach out to your professors. I was on, they have technology people. This right now, what we're doing with the online classes, it's different for your professors, it's different for your advisors, it's different for all of the administrative staff, and it's different for the students. So everybody's kind of in this boat where we're trying to figure out how to use this. Talk to your professors and let them know if you're having a lot of problems. And maybe they have resources within the school as well, as far as how to help you with the technology. Now, I will admit that sometimes I am bad with the online classes and staying focused and staying organized. When my kids were doing stuff, sometimes I just had to let them watch TV or let them, play on a device longer than I would usually. But that's how I would do that. I use binders to stay focused. I started using folders, and that's what I do more for my online classes than my my classes that I knew that I had to like face-to-face. But mostly I would say that setting aside some time to get your work done is number one. Even if it's getting up early, if you work, I would use my lunch breaks to do my work, because then I knew like every lunch that I was gonna get my work done. So I knew that every day that was an hour of work that I would get done, right? I would just say you really have to set aside some time for yourself. You have to set aside some time for your education. And then you just need to look at how you can do it. When it wasn't like with the online classes, when I used to go in for tests, I used to go into school like 2 hours early and sit in my car and just practice and study, because I knew that I needed that quiet time. Try to find a quiet space. Even now with my kids, I tell them, I set up my house. I don't know if you could see in the background, but here, let me see if I could see what you guys see. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. If you could see my background, this is gonna be up close and personal with Idara. Do you see behind me, there's some chairs. So I put like a picnic table in my living room for my kids because they have online classes. You do need a space to study. You need a specific space to study. You study better, like, if you go to the library, you study better. Set up a space. Like right now, one of my kids is like, I can't study. I tell her, go outside on the patio and sit on the patio on the little chair and study. My little one, I have like a little lap tray, and that's your lap tray to study. And when he goes to get his stuff done, he grabs his lap tray. Habits also help a lot. So if you start making the same habit of going to the same spot, it will become more, it will become easier for you to do it, because like, okay, I'm gonna sit at this table and I'm gonna study. And I always sit on this one corner of the table and I'm gonna focus. And then if you, like I said, if you have your kids there and they're making it hard to stay focused or stay organized, pre-plan something for your kids to do during that time. And that's where doing things like coloring comes in, or painting, or, maybe I would bake a dozen cupcakes and then let them make a mess with frosting, right? I'm gonna have to clean up the mess, but they might be quiet for half an hour. So then I would give me a half an hour to study. Does that help?
We haven't heard, Idara, it's Bonnie here. We haven't heard whether that helped, although I, as a teacher, appreciated that you said when students are having difficulty with technology, that they ask their teachers, because I think sometimes they feel timid about doing that. And that's really important to ask the question. But we have another question here from one of our strong supporters and participants, Nikisha Dyer. And she first wants to thank you for sharing your story and your journey with us, which we all do, I'm sure. And she wanted you to speak to the financial aspect and the potential burden of both bachelor's and master's degrees.
Okay. So yes, there is a financial burden to getting your education, but don't look at it as a burden, look at it as an investment in yourself. You are investing in yourself. You can't replace yourself. If you can spend $50,000 on a car, you can spend $50,000 on yourself. That car is going to last 5 to 10 years. You're going to be around for the rest of your life. It is an investment in yourself. You are the number one most important thing in your life, because without you, there is no life. So think of it as an investment in yourself. When I went to the National Hispanic, the other reason I chose to go there when I started having the problem with going to San Jose State was they had actually run a program where they said, if you transfer from a junior college, your junior year, we will match your junior college tuition. So I was able to go to school for $36 a class, which was awesome. Okay. So I'm not saying money doesn't matter, money matters. And that was one of the other reasons I decided to go there. It was also down the street from my house. I'd driven by it a bunch of times and I was just like, the National Hispanic University, like, what is that? I knew some people that went there, but I had gone to like a big college that everybody knew. So, but I was like, you know what, $36 a unit, let's go. I went. And then after that first year, I got financial aid. When I was in junior college, starting in junior college, I used my Pell grant. I used Cal grant. And then I realized that with Cal grant, they have like the Cal grant A, the Cal grant B. There's Cal, if you're great, I didn't even know I was going to get Cal grant until I got my GPA up. And then I got something saying, you got Cal grant because your GPA was, like a 3.5 or something. And I was like, cool, I get extra like $7,000 for keeping my grades up. Motivation. So I started keeping all my grades. And then I also did work study, which is an awesome program. That's actually how I got my first scholarship when I was going to Santa Clara University. So even before I was a parent, I did the work study program at Santa Clara University. And while working and my work study assignment was in the financial aid office. And the director there came up to me and told me about a scholarship opportunity. And that's how I ended up getting a scholarship for my next 2 years. So you get a lot of connections because if you use work study, you're actually gonna be working on campus. It's wonderful experience to show on your resume, which will help you with your finances once you're done with school, because you'll have that experience. And then you might also meet, build your network. And then as far as loans, I took out loans as well. Now, your loans are deferred as long as you're in school. So I always made sure I was in school. Even if something was going on in my life, I made sure I was in school because I knew I didn't have the money to pay for them. So I made sure I stayed in school. With my bachelor's degree, I didn't incur too much debt because I did the junior college, and then my junior year was junior college rate. And then my senior year, I had loans. My master's program was 100% loans. My master's program cost me about $60,000. And I actually took out about $90,000. I took out the 60 to cover the tuition, and then I took out the extra 30. So I was able to I didn't have to work full time. it helped supplement my income so I could get through my master's program, because I did an accelerated master's. So I did my master's in 18 months. And for me, it was worth it because I knew that once I was done with my master's program, I was going to be making enough money that I didn't have to worry about that anymore. And so I saw it as an investment in myself. And then you also have to remember that once you're done with your schooling, there's a lot of programs to repay, and they do income-based repayments. So when you're first starting off, you can request income-based repayments. So as your income increases, your payment amount increases. But when you're first coming out of school, your payments aren't huge. And if you're, first coming out of school and still looking for a really good job or something, you just keep in contact with the lenders. You can always ask for like another deferral or forbearance. So there's a lot of things you could do. One thing I waited to do, because I worked at Kaiser the whole time. I worked at Kaiser. I mean, I still technically work there. I just don't pick up shifts. I haven't been picking up shifts really since I picked up I got my master's. But as a single mom, I was always like, what if something happens? Like, Kaiser's a union job. I know I always have my job. So I'm still on call. I still go in a couple days here and there to keep myself on the payroll, so that if anything ever happens, I know I have that job at the hospital. Like right now, essential workers, hospital workers, I knew I would always have a job. So I was at Kaiser my whole time, and I never utilized the fact that they did like tuition reimbursement. For some reason, I didn't think that applied for junior college, which is so untrue. And then I thought like, oh, well, they're not going to give you that much. Well, when I was in my master's program, I had all these loans, and I was like not working that much. And then I had 2 kids. I finally applied, and they gave me like $2,000, and I got it in less than a month just for turning in my paperwork saying that I had taken out a bunch of loans. And I was just like, really? Seriously? So I could have been doing this like all of these years. So there's other things, like if you work, even like little places like Starbucks and stuff, they have tuition reimbursement. You should look into it. And that burden of, like I said, that financial burden, it won't really stop you. The only thing I've ever seen on myself is that I didn't have like, it shows on your credit, but it makes it so like my credit's like in the high 700s, not like 800. But if someone's gonna hold it against me that I went to college and got a bachelor's and a master's degree, then I don't know, maybe that's not someone I need to do business with anyways. I think it's worth it. I wouldn't not go back to school over the money of, the worry of taking out the loans. And like I said, utilize the programs because they can help with that financial burden. Apply for your grants, talk to the financial aid office. Like I know, talk to your advisors, your counselors, because they can help guide you through the programs. If you're not trying to see if you qualify for every program, make sure you're doing your FAFSA, make sure that you're applying for your Pell grant, your Cal grant, look at your college website because sometimes they have grants and scholarships. And then, then there's the federal loans. I would always go for a federal loan before I go to a private bank. So always, go through your school financial aid office first.
Thanks, Idara. I have another question for you here from Yashika Crawford. She's an instructor in our behavioral science department. And she would like to know, what's a common misconception that professors have of single parents, and how can professors do a better job of being supportive?
Well, I think that sometimes single professors forget that when you become a parent, it makes you grow up. So I remember I was taking a class and I've had someone tell me, actually my grandmother passed away. And I told him I need to leave. I need to go take my daughter to the airport. She's jumping on an airplane with my dad and they're gonna fly out to Mississippi. And my professor told me, if you miss class, you're gonna get F. And I'm not gonna excuse it. And so then he's like, because when you grow up and you go to the real world, you cannot just leave when something like this happens. And I came back. Well, I look younger than I am. So I'm 40, but most people don't think I'm 40. And so I was in junior college, and I went back to junior college, right? So I'm like 30 something by the time this happens. But I look like I'm in my early 20s. So I always get treated like I'm in my early 20s. I was like, well, I do have a real job. And I know that I could take off of work for a family emergency. And the same as I know I could take off of school for a family emergency. And I wouldn't be asking for this if it wasn't an emergency. So I think first is that people might have the misconception that you're younger than you are and that you don't know as much as you do. Because a lot of people go back to school once they become parents, as single parents, because they realize now that, hey, I didn't go to college when I first graduated, but now that I have a kid, I need to make more money. So sometimes people think that you have a job where you can just that what's going on is like a little job. But by this time, I think I was like the logistics coordinator at Kaiser. And so sometimes to remember that some of your students are, trying to juggle jobs that just have as much as responsibility as your job does is really helpful. Also realizing that students grow up when they have kids. So I know there's a misconception, and not just with professors, but even other people, that students or single parents are irresponsible. And with my business, even, I always said, I want to hire single parents because we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure our kids are good. And that's our number one. So if you need me to work extra, I'm going to do it. If I have to stay up all night to get this paper so I can graduate, so I know I can get a better job, so I can make more money, so I can make sure that my kids have a roof over their head, I'm going to stay up all night. When we actually come out and ask for help, it's usually because we've tried every avenue. We're also really resourceful as single parents, because we're having to figure out how to juggle it. And we're trying to juggle, usually 2 responsibilities, right? It's like you're doing mom and dad. So we're used to being really resourceful. And if we're asking for help, then we've probably thought it out, and we know that there's a stigmatism that comes with being a single parent. So it takes a lot to ask for that help. So just some more patience and compassion, and maybe actually asking them what's going on. I know I was docked in a class before where I told the teacher, I took the class, and then the daycare changed their hours. And so I had to pick up my daughter, drop her off to my friend, and I was going to get to class, I was going to get to school at 5:30, but I wouldn't be to my class by 5:30 because I had to run across campus, right, to the parking lot. And at first the teacher said, fine. And I told him, I'm like, I'll get here as fast as I can, but if traffic is bad, I'm getting here exactly at time, but I have to drop her off. And they said, fine. But when it came out, they docked me a whole letter grade. And they said it was for my participation because I was late. And I was like, but I talked to you the first day. And I had the highest grade in that class. It was my cost accounting class. And I was really frustrating, I have a lot of perseverance, so I don't give up, but I could see how for some students, you just be forget it, because if you take the time out and you talk to your teachers and they still don't, and they say, okay, and then they dock your grades later, it's really discouraging. But that's what I would say is just remember that we're really resourceful, and we're really trying, and we're really responsible. And a lot of times people become single parents, not because of anything that they did. It's just a situation. Sometimes it's the most responsible thing they could have done was to leave a bad situation and decide to take care of their kids on their own. So we're here just to try to get an education like everybody else. And, if you have a word of encouragement, encourage them like you encourage everybody else,
Thank you, Idara. We have another question here. This is a really interesting question, and it says that my friend is also a single mother with a disability and wants to register at the College of Marin this fall. What suggestions do you have, especially during these uncertain times with the COVID-19? And she says, I normally would have just brought my friend to the campus, but now I'm not sure how to help her.
Well, I know you can register for college online. So you could register for community college online. You would go, so when you just go to the College of Marin website, I would just type in registration or registrar, and you can call and you can register for the school online. And then she would also want to reach out to, there has to be a disability office on the campus. I don't know if you can help with this. One of the counselors, Bonnie, Becky, Renetta, anyone, Walter,
Yes.
but I know that there's an office for people with disabilities. So
I'm sorry to cut you off. It's called SAS, Students Accessibility Services, and you can find it on the College of Marin website.
but just remember, like, everyone at the college is here because they love students, they love educating, and they are there to support you. So I was really timid. It was probably like my biggest mistake was not reaching out to the staff at the college. I refused to do it when my first time through. And so I really, if I could not stress it enough, reach out to people at the college. There is a list of names. All the people that are in this program right now, they are here to support you. If you have a problem and they don't have the answer, I'm pretty sure they might know where you can find it, and they might be able to guide you to the right resources. But reach out to your staff. If you have problems registering, call the registrar's office. If you're, and then remember that you don't even have to really be nervous about doing things like that, because, well, if the world was not shut down, you have students working in all those offices as well. So there's the regular staff, and then there's student workers. And so there's people just like you in those offices that will help you. And everyone's there to help you. So I would say have her register online, have her reach out to the SAS office. And then you also need to talk to financial aid, the financial aid office. And see, Becky's saying, feel free to reach out or send her an email. There are so many resources, you guys. If you know anyone that wants to go to school, it's the best thing you could ever do. It boosts your self-esteem so much. You will be able to do so many more things when you go through school, just because you feel so much better about yourself. Let's see, I'm reading through some of these notes as well. Colleen says she has her master's and doctoral program in communication, media, and journalism. And she went to programs that provided a full assistantship, a stipend, about $1,500 a month for being a student. There are programs like that. So when I did my first program, like I said, in the financial aid office, I went to a program called Eastside Future Teachers. My first year, I was actually going in for agricultural business. And then I was working in financial aid, and they were like, hey, and have you ever thought about teaching? And I was like, well, yeah, it's something people told me to do. They're like, you might want to look into it, because there's a program, it's called Eastside Future Teachers, and it's to help kids on the east side of San Jose, which is the neighborhood I came from, which was like the ghetto there. And they were like, it's to help the minority students, the poor students, get more teachers into the schools, because no one wanted to go teach in our schools. And they told me, they don't have any African Americans in that. They don't have any people of color even in that program. So they were like, you might want to apply because you're from that neighborhood and you would probably relate to those kids. And so I applied, I got in, and they gave me a full ride. So talk to your financial aid officers. And like I said, I got that information because I knew people on campus. I knew people that were working on campus that could tell me what was going on. I was doing my work study, and one of the directors came in and talked to me, pulled me aside one day. The more you become involved, the better it is. Even like my college counselor helped me get a job And then that job, I was able to use it for, I forgot what the program is called. When you work and you get credits for working. So I was able to get an internship. I remember this is like right after the .com crash. I had 3 jobs and people were like, how do you have 3 jobs? Most people can't get one. And I was like, through the College Career Center. So there's a lot of resources out there for you. Does anyone else have any more questions, or else I will go over some of the other topics that we have. How are we looking on time?
It looks like we are doing pretty good on time. We're scheduled to go until 3. So probably about like 10 more minutes or so, and then we'll start, maybe 15 more minutes and we'll start wrapping it up.
Okay. So a couple more things I wanted to talk to you guys about was things that you can do right now that the world has changed and you are students. COVID-19 has changed a lot, right? Our world's pretty much shut down. Your classes have all been taken from face-to-face classes to online classes. I will tell you something else, and someone actually had mentioned also about when you're having problems with online classes. I said myself that I would take my accounting classes face-to-face because I didn't learn well online. So I know the challenge. In my math classes, I like to be able to say like, how did you get that number? Wait a minute, can you go back, erase it on the board and do it over again? And I feel like in an online class that you're not able to do that. I encourage you to first speak up in your classes. So speak up the same as you would in class. You know, you have the option to raise your hand, ask quick questions, the same as you would in class. Utilize office hours. So teachers still have office hours. If you might not have used them before, but utilize office hours, especially if you find yourself falling behind with your assignments, or you're finding that studying at home is harder. I know that if you have older kids, like I'm saying older, like kindergarten or above, then your kids are also being homeschooled, and you're supposed to be teaching your kids while you're doing your schooling, which is like really hard. Let your teachers know what's going on. And then also talk to your kids' teachers, because I have my business. I have 4 kids at the house. My youngest is in kindergarten, and my business is to help businesses stay in business, and businesses are falling apart right now. So like they need me 24/7. And I had to talk to my son's teacher and say, there's no way I'm gonna get all these worksheets done because I'm in Zoom meetings like all day long. And he needs my computer and I need my computer. And I've already borrowed 3 other computers for my other kids. And even if I had a computer for him, he can't read the instructions. I can't stop every 5 minutes. So I asked him, I said, can I just take pictures of things that we do around the house so that you can see that we're doing stuff? Like if I bake a cake, usually, or if I bake something, usually we double it because there's so many kids here. So we double the recipe. I let him cook. He's learning fractions. He's learning math. He's learning, he would bug me all the time about my phone, wanting to play games. So I taught him how to tell time in the last month. So I would also come to the teachers with, maybe when you ask someone for something, always come to them with a request with a possible solution. And so I presented it as, can I document the things we're doing around the house in lieu of some of these assignments, because the workload is too hard. It's too much for me to get my work done and my little one to get his work done. And I can't ask my older one to help because she has her assignments, and it's not fair for her to not get her assignments done. She's in high school getting ready to go to college. So the teacher wrote me back and he said, yeah, it's fine. You know what? I need 2 writing samples by the end of the week. And then you could send me pictures of the things that we do. And I was like, there's a park down the street. I take them to the park. We started a garden, and that's some of the things that I wanted to tell you guys you can do. I wanted to take pictures and then it rained, but I got like chalk. So the dollar store, remember, dollar store is my best friend, still my best friend. Even though I finished my degree, trust me, and my income tripled, the dollar store is my best friend. I'm still frugal. I went and got a bunch of those chalks. You know, the chalks come in the box like 5 at a time, and they come like 25 in a box. And I had my kids go up the street, and I'm really like strict on them not interacting with people. So we just left little notes and messages in front of the neighbors' doors, right? And so I let them just draw like little chalk pictures and like, stay safe, you know, or to the ones we know, we miss you, can't wait till we can see you again, and things like that. Left the box outside on the front of our yard, and then the neighbors came and left us notes. So we have this little note game coming on my street with chalks now. We started a garden. And so I just went to Walmart, I picked up some seeds, and I picked up a tray, and it has like 72 little slots, and I put some dirt, and we started a garden. And then I started looking on YouTube for other things that we could do. So like, you could grow an onion in water and it'll start to sprout. So we sprouted onions in little cups with water, and then we just put them outside in the dirt. I've been trying to find like ways to do science and math, and you know, if like you want a writing sample, can it be in chalk? Because I could get them to do chalk, but I can't get them to do a worksheet anymore. I try to find things that make them, you know, that you could integrate it to them. So it's like a fun time with them, they're learning. And then when you're not doing that fun time, you're doing school. Because I know with me, when I'm doing my work, I'm just like, shh, 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 stop. And then I don't like, I feel like I'm fussing at them almost, right? Like, you need to leave me alone so I can get this done. And then I don't want to end that to being like, now you need to sit down and do your homework. And I'm like, when is it ever going to be like our time, like quality time? So I tried to ask, can we have some, can I show some of our quality time activities? So can we do some quality time activities so that we can, and document them so that I don't, you know, it's a little bit of stress relief for us. I could see this. I'm reading a mess. I'm reading a chat. So the chat's not too much going on so I can see it. There's a question here and it says, well, do you want to read it? Does someone want to go over it?
I'll read it. Depression and anxiety is high, especially for single moms that already suffer from it now. Can you give some suggestions for self-care and how supportive teachers are if discussed with them? Dr. Crawford, my psych teacher, made the difference for me one semester because I was going to drop out because I felt helpless.
It's true. So first, recognizing it and recognizing it is like the first most powerful thing that you've done. So if you are suffering from depression or anxiety, or if you think that you're going through depression and anxiety, if you just feel a little off, if you feel like you're not enjoying things as much as you usually would, you don't have as much energy as for your kids as you usually would, you're a little bit more irritable than you usually would be, you're not, like usually when I do this with my kids, it would make me laugh, but it's not funny anymore. Then recognizing that and recognizing that there's something different going on is like the first really big step. And then you can, I would say, I mean, right now, there's always a lot of resources. So you could go to your, the resources at your school. You have your counselors at your school. They have lots of resources. They have, there's other resources in your community. You can look to your community resources and you can go to, okay, so they're saying the psychological services, they're doing remote support through phone and Zoom, and that there's a phone number you can call. It's 415-485-9649. That I'm saying go to your outside sources because right now, especially with people sheltering in place and you're at home with your kids, they can't get outside. You're overwhelmed, they're overwhelmed. You can't hang out with your friends. That's usually your stress relief. You can't go and do the things you usually do. You can't go to your secret quiet space that nobody knew about. I know that it's really like, it could spiral and it could spiral really quickly. So reach out to other sources so they can check on you, okay? And then for yourself, you can, first of all, tell yourself that it's going to be, it's going to be okay. You know, you have to understand that everything that you're going to do through any of the student, like the psychological services that you go to, you're going to work on, they're going to teach you methods of coping and dealing with situations and working on yourself. So a lot of it is your mindset. If you seek out professional help, they help you with your mindset. I'm giving you this advice as somebody who's gone through stress and depression and anxiety. I think I was diagnosed with depression when my mom died when I was 16. So, and then also as someone who worked in psychiatry for 2 years. We do classes and seminars, and I've gone through this for so long. They're going to talk, they will guide you and they will help empower you and give you the tools that you need to help manage your situations and also help change your mindset and the way that you look at and approach things. Support groups are also really, really good, because a lot of times you feel like you're the only one going through a situation. And then when you hear other people talk about how they dealt with the situation or how they feel, and knowing that you're not the only one who feels like that, to me, that was always a sigh of relief, of knowing that, like, I'm not the only person that's going through this. Like, I had really bad postpartum depression, and I realized it after I had my first one, and then I had a miscarriage and I had postpartum. And so when I had my son, before I had him, I told my doctor. And so, like I say, recognizing it and seeking help is like important, because I told my doctor before, like, I think I'm prone to getting postpartum depression. And so what do I need to do now to prep for it? And she was like, we'll start you in the classes now. We'll link you up with therapists now. And then you can continue it, you know. So I was already set up with services. So if you know that you're prone to this, if you know that you're prone to becoming stressed out, or even if you just felt overwhelmed now, like, seek out help, because there's help there. But people don't know how you feel. And I know a lot of times you feel like nobody cares, or like the world is like, it's just me. But there's like people that's all they do. They're here just to help you. But until you reach out, they're not there to, they can't help you. And then also remember to take time for yourself. Like I said, right now there's a lot of stress going on. So I could tell you, like myself, that I've been stressing. I've been running. And it's just with my business. I'm trying to help businesses stay afloat. And then I have the kids here. And so I had to tell myself just to slow down. I had to tell myself just to stop. I had to just stop and actually look at my kids, like look at their little chubby faces and be like, hey, how are you doing? You know, just sometimes you just need to stop what you're doing and look around you and realize that there's so many blessings that you have, so many wonderful things that are going on around you. Like, I literally just stopped what I was doing. My son was coloring, and I just like stopped to look at his coloring. And I was just like, that's really awesome. I like that color, pink or purple. Oh, wow. And he was so proud and his face lit up. And I was like, you need to slow down, because I was so stressed on reaching these deadlines that I was giving myself anxiety, right? This morning, I was anxious about doing this talk. So I went outside with my little one and we watered the garden for a couple of minutes. And I gave him a watering can, and he walked into the middle of the mud. And I was like, and rather than fussing at him, I just laughed, turned on the water hose, took my shoes off and took his off, and I sprayed our feet with water. And we laughed and we came back in, and he was happy. And just watching him laugh, it kind of like loosened my tension. So I think sometimes just enjoying your kids and enjoying your situation and saying, like, I know there's a lot going on right now, but that also gives you the opportunity to spend more time with your kids. It also gives you the opportunity to like slow down and maybe do something that you haven't done. You see in my background, I have barrels here because I went and got some barrels. I found them on like Craigslist or something. And I always want, like, I want a rustic look in this room. So that's like my goal in my house. So you guys are getting like an inside look into my life. And so I bought these barrels and I sat down with my kids, and we've been sitting here sanding barrels together. And it's like relaxing. You wouldn't think that grabbing some sandpaper and sanding on a piece of wood was relaxing. And then I called my kids over and I was like, hey, come help. And they all sat down, and even the little one, he's like, I want to do it. And I'm just trying to make sure he's not sanding his knuckles, but it was like relaxing. We were doing it together, and my mind was like focused on something else at that time. And then, you know, it was just like for that moment, I was doing something else. So it could be something little, like I used to paint with my kids. I used to paint the house. I make things fun. I will, like I say, if you try to I try to stay optimistic, and I'm actually a pessimistic kind of person, but I try to remember to stay optimistic. So when this happened, I was like, you know what? You're gonna get to spend more time with your kids. You don't have to drive. You're not trying to balance running back and forth from place to place. So it's less stress, right? So I had to keep telling myself that, like, usually you would be stuck in traffic right now trying to fly and get kids and then run back home and get on a call. So I don't have to do that right now. I keep trying to find like the good things that are coming out of the situations. And then also, even sometimes it's easier to speak up. So even if you didn't want to talk to a therapist before, now might be the time to reach out, because I know through Zoom, I feel way more comfortable talking to people than I did before. And also sometimes I felt like I didn't have the time in my day to stop and talk to a therapist when I knew I needed to. But right now, because we're doing things remotely, you might have that time. People are a little bit more flexible, and you might be able to open up and relax a little bit more. And then just take out that time for yourself, and always give yourself a pat on the back, because you're doing it, you know? I am proud of every single person here. And I think that's why I wanted to do this the most, is because I know that this was sponsored by CARE, EOPS, Women to Women, Umoja, and CalWORKS. And without those programs, I would not have been able to get here. And I really wanted to come back and tell everyone that use those programs. Without a daycare program, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Without food stamps, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Without book vouchers, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I didn't take them just to take them. I took them and I utilized them, and I let it work for me. And I went to the school. I got my education. I was like, if you guys are gonna pay for my books, I'm gonna study. If you're gonna, give me some extra money to come to school, I'm here. Don't worry about it, Daycare program, you need me to take so many classes in order to get my daycare, you got it, and then I would ask for study time, because they'll give you study time. If you have a daycare program, remember, they include study time in that. So you don't have to do if you need 30 hours a week to get your full-time daycare, it's 30 hours with your study time. So remember, you make sure you do your study time. I also made sure that my schedules always worked so that I maximize those programs so I could get the most out of them. So I always made sure I went to school full time, but really use your programs and the resources and the people. Not only the people that work there, but the people that are in your programs, because they will be your support and your backbone that will help you get through all the programs. I don't know if there's any more questions or. I think we're almost at the 3 o'clock mark. No, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Like I said, I've wanted to do this. I think I wanted to do this since I walked out of the office, and I had to go in and tell my caseworker that I didn't need my daycare program anymore because I was finishing my master's. And she looked at me and she was like, I can't believe you got your master's degree. And she was like, you did it. She's like, so many people use this program and they don't use it to their advantage. They just use it for daycare. She's like, you worked, but you got your master's degree. And I was like, yes. And I didn't have to pay for daycare. So, and I was like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. And she was like, I wish you could tell other people about it. And so I wanted to come back and tell you guys that this is you guys are so blessed right now to have all of these programs available to you. The big schools, they don't have as many. And you guys have a wonderful support group here. So make the most of it, do great things, and then come back and spread the love, the joy of education, spread the knowledge of how successful that you were because of the programs, and encourage other people to do it, because when you get older, you're going to be putting into the programs when you're working. So go back and tell everybody, you know, hey, I'm working. Don't feel bad about them. I pay taxes. Yes, I'm in this program and I got my degree and I'm doing awesome things now. And now I'm putting back for the next generation to use those programs and do great things so they can help the next generation. And thank you. And I hope I have the opportunity to talk to you guys again soon.
Idara, I just want to thank you so very much for coming today and speaking with us. And I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things just that you had mentioned, namely about the learning communities also. You mentioned a lot of the student services and all of that, and just the importance of finding community for students that you can connect with. And again, like the programs like EOPS, CARE, and CalWORKS that seem to really make a difference in your life. And I hope that a lot of our students are the students who are here today. And then I just really also quickly wanted to share just that website again that you'd shared earlier, because EOPS, CARE, and CalWORKS has been working hard to generate resources, and we kind of had our own list going. And then we realized that Nicole and her group were doing this great job of putting it all on the website. So we've kind of centralized it all. And so in addition to what you were sharing on about the college resources, I just wanted to share, I don't know if I can share screens or not. Let's see. I just want to try real quick here. I just wanted to show, this is the home page. Can you guys all see that? This is where you would click to get to where Idara was showing you the support services. And this is where all the information is being gathered. So all the stuff about that she was referring to at the top here is related to the college and some food resources. But here at the bottom, I also just wanted to point out some really great stuff related to reduced cost for free internet, PG&E monthly discounts, unemployment, Adopt a Family Canal Alliance. There's so many things here. And as we find more and more resources, we're sending them to be added to this list. So this is going to be sort of the go-to place. So I just wanted to reemphasize that because it's such an important, it's so important to reach out and take advantage of those resources like Idara was saying.
It's true. I had my $12 internet because a lot of those programs, you know what you need? You need to show like you could qualify your income, but if you have like food stamps, that gets you in, so that your EBT card will get you discounts on everything. So like everything, I went to the museums. You can get into you could get into so many things you could do with your kids too. But those programs, like you can get your internet reduced, your PG&E. A lot of times it says like if you have EBT, you just need to show a copy of your card, and then they will automatically qualify you for those programs. $12 internet, awesome. After that, I was like, you guys are paying $150. I was like, can I get my food stamps back? So.
One other quick thing I wanted to say too, like you had so many great ideas for families, and we in EOPS have pulled together a list of educational resources and stuff. So if anybody's interested, and the parents who are there today would like a copy of that document, we'd be happy to send it to you. I'll just add my information in the chat box so you guys can email me directly.
I have a list of things too. I was gonna go through them and I was like, this is gonna be 100 pictures. Plus I realized that like, I love my kids, but not everyone wants to see 100 pictures of my kids. So,
send us anything you got, Idara, we'll add it to the list.
So I have a bunch of things to do, but because I'm always doing activities, I'm telling you, activities, keep them busy so you can have some free time. It's the craziest thing to think of, but like I sat here with some water and cornstarch and they made oobleck and they plated oobleck for an hour. And I was like, cool, I can get something done. Salt and flour makes Play-Doh, right? You can use things around the house. So I'm gonna put up some links of things that you can use around the house to do for the kids. Even I couldn't find to do like Easter eggs. I couldn't find it. I was like, food coloring. I remember doing that. So you could do stuff with the kids around the house. It keeps them busy and you can study or you can, do the things you need to do. And then any news about scholarships for single parents. I don't know of any scholarships for single parents. Maybe someone does. I know that there's always, people always think there's a lot of programs for single parents. I have found more that there's not as many programs for single parents as there is low income. And since you only have one income, you qualify for them. So look for the low income programs, because people think that, you know, you're a household of 2, but you only have 1 income. So you'll probably qualify for every single low income program.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to say to Idara, we needed more time. I think everybody feels that way. I know I do. Thank you for your presentation, your insight on positive parenting practices, and for sharing your story and your journey with us. This presentation was so on point and much, much needed. We all know that surviving during this very unique time is more stressful than it was pre-March. So we are hoping that our participants who participated today, this presentation has had a positive impact on you. We are hoping that you have learned something, just a little bit of information that will help you with your struggles being a single parent, for we know the struggle is real and it will continue. Thank you, Idara, for your expert advice. You will be returning not only for the second time, 2, 3, and hopefully 4. Thank you, Idara. And before we leave, I just want to say to our participants, this was our first Zoom production, and we appreciate you coming out and supporting us in that action. So, as you leave us, we hope you stay safe, stay home, and stay well. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.